Okay, welcome. This is a presentation on how to do a full case citation. You're going to use a full citation anytime in your document that you use a case for the first time. So the parts of a full citation are the party names, which make the case name, the location of where the case can be found, the court and the date it was decided, and of course, using correct formatting. So this is just a basic overview of what a formula would look like for a full citation. You have the party names, the volume of the reporter and the page number, and then the court it was decided in and the date. I just want to point out that there's no period. When you're using a volume number and a page number, you don't put a period after it. It's just like this here because these words are abbreviated. Secondly, the reason why there's two different options is because you can either italicize or underline your party names, but just be consistent throughout your document. Just choose one and stick with it, and do not put the comma included in that. So the comma should not be italicized and the comma should not be underlined. So the first part is going to be the case name. Like I just said, make sure that you either italicize it or underline it throughout your document, and the same thing with the comma. And you're going to make sure that you're checking your spaces, periods, capitalization, all that stuff. So both of these examples, Lannister v. Stark, Snape v. Riddle, would be correctly written. It seems pretty basic. It's just that when you have multiple party names, it might get confusing, or when you have to abbreviate things, it might get confusing. But you're just going to stick with one of the first party's name on both sides and then abbreviate it as the Blue Book provides. You really do need to look at rules 10.21 and 10.22. This is in the white part of your Blue Book. It's also in the PDF posted on Blackboard. Many rules for how to abbreviate and omit and what you need to do for party names. I just screenshotted some of what's in the PDF. It's really helpful. So if you haven't taken a look at it yet, I would highly recommend it. There's really no way to know what you can't just wing this. You have to look in the Blue Book or on Blackboard in order to know how to do this. So these pages are going to help you in the Blue Book for case names: B 4.1, R10, and T6. B means that it's in the blue pages. We use the blue pages for what we're doing in class, and the white pages are used for like law review. So anytime you see a B, that means it's in the blue pages. R just means rule, and that's in the white pages. So you'll notice that the blue pages are much thinner. So sometimes we do need to look in the white pages. And then T6 means table. 6, that's going to show you how to abbreviate any word that's long and you need to cut it down. Shows you what to do. So make sure to use those rules and those pages to help you. So after each section, I'm just going to give you a second. You can pause it to think about which one you think is correct, but based on what you just saw, which one of these titles or case names is correct. This is the correct answer. The first one, there's no period after the V, so that's incorrect. And on this one, the comma was included in the underline, so that's incorrect. The second part is the reporter, or where it's found. When you're talking about the case location, you're going to include the volume name, the reporter, the volume number, the reporter number, and the page name, comma, the page number, the information that you're citing to is found on. The biggest thing here is to be careful with spacing. With the reporters, it can get confusing of whether or not you need a space. Rule 6.1a is going to be a huge help on that, and these other pages will help you as well. One thing to note is when you're citing to a case that comes from Florida, use your Florida legal research book, not the Blue Book. This is an example. This is just taken out of the Blue Book. This is for Oklahoma. So if you needed to cite to a case decided by the Oklahoma Supreme Court, you would include the volume, the reporter, which would be one of these, and you would know when you're citing which one you have to use. It's the Pacific Reporter. It's just either the second version or the third edition, and then the page number that it starts. So 1, 2, 3 that's the volume. P.2D is the Pacific Reporter second edition, and then 342 is the page that it starts on, the opinion starts on. So which one of these is correct? This is the correct answer because there needs to be a space. This is the Southern Reporter 2nd edition, and there should be a space between SO and 2D. Again, Rule 6.1 is going to be your best friend. The last thing that you need to include is the court and the date. This is going to be in a parenthetical at the end of your citation. For state courts, you can use table 1.3, and for federal courts, BT 2.1. Just keep in mind that when you're abbreviating second and third, it becomes 2D and 3D. You don't put the N or the R that you would typically see in that abbreviation. And also do not allow your computer to autocorrect these numbers. As soon as it tries to do that, just click undo. I know on a Mac it's Command Z. I think on a PC it's Control Z, and it will just put it back like that. So for courts, Florida again is different. So which one of these is the correct answer? And this is the correct. There's actually a mistake here. If you see it after I just said that, this should be Florida first. This part should not be little. It should be big. But if you look in the Blue Book, this is how the Blue Book tells you to cite it. But we have 5 DCAs in Florida, so you need to be more specific. You can't just say District Court of Appeal. So this is actually the correct answer. So that's the end of the presentation part, and I'm just gonna do 2 sample problems if you want to see exactly how to work through it. Okay, so this is basically what your citation exercise is going to look like. It's going to be set up like this. So in this case, it's W.R. Grace and Company versus Maryland Casualty Company et al. This case was issued by the Appeals Court of Massachusetts on September 30th, 1992. It is reported in volume 600, page 176 of Northeastern Reporter, 2nd series. The information that you're citing to can be found on page 178 of the opinion. You are citing this case in a brief to a state court in New Hampshire. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm working through something is figure out what I need and what I don't need. The first thing that you don't need is you do not need to know. That doesn't matter. You're doing a citation, it's the same no matter where you are. Okay, so starting with your title, this is the first thing that you're looking at. You need to So you're figuring out what can you shorten and what do you need to omit. W.R. Grace and Company is the full name of the company, so there's nothing that you can omit from that. So W.R. Grace, and however, if you look at table T6, company can be shortened. So company just becomes CO, period, comma. Just joking. Don't put the comma yet. We're not done. So W.R. Grace and Co. Then versus becomes shortened to just V. Maryland Casualty Company et al. So Maryland is a geographic region. It can be shortened. That's table T10. So Maryland becomes MD, period. Casualty is actually something that's common enough that it's on T6 and it can be shortened. It becomes shortened to CAS. And then company, comma. You don't need to put the et al. You don't have to include that. And then the comma. So again, you're going to either underline or italicize. I prefer to italicize, but make sure that you go back and make your comma not italicized. So now we're done looking at that. The next thing that we need to include is the volume number, the reporter, and the page number. So you find the volume number, it's volume 600, so just put 600, that's cut and dry. The reporter is the Northeastern Reporter, so you're going to want to use table T1.3 because this is a Massachusetts appeals court. You're going to look to Massachusetts and find how to abbreviate the Northeastern Reporter, and it's the 2nd series. So that becomes NE2D. This is where people run into spacing problems. So Northeastern 2D, this is all capitalized, so there's no space. Numbers are treated just like capitalization, so there's no space here. And then the next thing you need is the page number. So the page number is 176. So we put 176 because we've gotten that it's on page 178 of the opinion. Just put comma 178. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. And then side parentheses. So you need to look in that same page in Massachusetts. How do you abbreviate the Appeals Court of Massachusetts? So hopefully you're looking at that and you see that it's abbreviated as Mass App Court. So we're done with that part. And then September 30th, 1992, you don't need to include the exact date. You just need to put the year. So we're going to put 1992, close parentheses, and then period. Please do not forget the period at the end of that parentheses. It's just, when it comes to full citations, it really is going to be, are you being detail oriented? If you are trying to go through it quick, you're going to miss something small, and that's going to lose points. So hopefully that made sense and you understand where all of those things came from. So we're going to do one more. I would recommend on this next one that you pause the video and try to figure it out yourself and work it out yourself, and then check yourself against what I get in the end. So the State of Florida Appellant versus James Rabb Appellee is a case decided by Florida's 4th District Court of Appeal on February 15, 2006. This case was published in volume 920, page 1175 of the Southern Reporter second series. You want to draw the reader's attention to material found on page 1191 of the opinion. So I again would pause this. The first thing that should stick out to you is that this is Florida, so you're using your Florida legal research. It's rule 9.800 and it's in the back of your book. So that's what you should be using to help you do this. Okay, so hopefully you pause this and you work this out. The first thing that you're gonna want to do is figure out the case name. So this could get a little bit tricky because we have the state of Florida. So because this was a case that was decided in a Florida court, you keep state and you omit of Florida. So you should have state v, and then you have James Rabb. We're just keeping his last name, state v Rabb, comma, and then we're going to either italicize or underline. So I'm just going to cross this out because I don't need this anymore. So the next thing we need is the volume number. So volume number is 920. Southern Reporter second series. So that's SO2D, and then it's on page 1175. So we got that. Then we do have a page number that we want to draw our reader's attention to, so we put comma 1191, and then we're going to put the court. So this is really the big part that's different. Florida's 4th District Court of Appeals. Hopefully you saw that that becomes FLA period 4th. When it does that, undo it, DCA, and then the year is 2006. And then period. So hopefully you worked that one out on your own and you got that. If you didn't get it, try to figure out where you went wrong, and if something doesn't make sense, then make sure that you ask during our citation workshop, where you're going to have the opportunity to practice many more times.